Boom. According to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. It's great to see you all. Yeah, sorry, I'm late. I was actually, I had to had a few home emergencies between setting up the titles and needing to, had to run up the shops and buy some stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. Just lowering the desk a little bit. Sorry, I am, 6 minutes late tonight. Yeah, it's been a busy week. Work-wise, and I've been training every day. I've got Tokyo Marathon. By the time I do this show next week, I will have run, hopefully, in the Tokyo Marathon. We'll see how I go in that. The goal is really just to get through it reasonably. But yeah, 1 week to go. Kind of crazy. I've been taking the training for it seriously. Although on a treadmill, I ran a 5K on the road the other day for the first time. Basically, just because it's cold, I just like to train where, I'm not subject to the rain or anything like that. And so I, the cold and the rain, it's just nice to train inside. So I went and trained out on the road. It said, my training program said I had to run 5K, and I went out with my carbon plate fast shoes on the road, and my feet got so sore. I'm so used to wearing my comfy New Balance 1080s, like on a treadmill, where I get no problem at all, even running for hours. So I think I'm going to run the marathon actually in the comfy shoes rather than the fast shoes, just because I could barely, it was like someone had been hitting the bottom of my feet with a baseball bat after I'd been running. So yeah, bought some warm weather stuff because it still is kind of cold here in Tokyo. Apparently it's going to be warmer this time next week, but you never know. We had some really cold days. So yeah, all lined up for that. As a result, haven't posted so much new stuff, but I do, as always, have topics to talk about. But yeah, Eric Bailey thought that New Balance were for geezers like you. They're for geezers like me and geezers like you. The 1080s are super comfortable. They're like recovery shoes, but they're really good. I'm so sold on them after all the crappy shoes that I've had. I've talked about this before on the show. The Nike, Vaporfly shoes that I've got, those are like professional, like wear at the Olympics type shoes, and they do make you go about 10% faster. But yeah, if I'm going to be running for nearly 4 hours, I don't want to be hit on the base of my feet with a baseball bat the whole time. So thinking about that. Let's see who's here. Let's go back up to the topic. Kubri's Tenshi claimed the pole position. Good to see that. Interesting times in Germany, by the way, with the election coming up. Lots of attention getting paid to that. I don't need this in. What am I doing with that in? Oh, that also reminds me, for the after party, I need to charge my phone so I don't run out of camera halfway through. So, yeah, I'll just put that there so it can charge, and I'll put my headphones away. But yeah, good to see you anyway. Interesting week there. Void Theft, good to have you in here indeed. One waiting. There's already two of you. Sometimes, yeah, YouTube isn't that accurate with that sort of thing. Well, Dan H in 3. Shubis made it in from Panama. Coffee at the ready. Great to have you. Troops are gathering indeed. Miss Cordy Chat, been from Australia. Great to have you in the chat as always. Lara, glad that you could make it. You're on a train without the headset, so the audio is off. So I guess I'll just make like dramatic hand signals so that I can do the whole thing. There was that, you remember there was that case of that fake sign language person on like TV news. In fact, I think she was interpreting for a politician or something, and she was basically doing para. I don't know if showing my age, but 20 years ago there was like a para dancing boom in Japan where people would like basically just sort of dance like this all the time. Sort of overly tan gyaru people would do this sort of hand gesture based and side to side moving para dancing. So yeah, and that's what this interpreter looked like. So I could probably do that. Probably wouldn't help Lara, although that could be an interesting different show. So there we go. Lip reading. So please articulate. No, I come from a mumbly country, and yes, and even when you can actually hear what we're saying, New Zealand only has 2 vowels. Remember, it's like and. So yeah, I'm afraid you'll have to probably catch up, but still, Tudom. Welcome to Japan. Who got to Japan? Wait, am I missing something? Or is this a welcome to Japan situation thing? I don't get it. But anyway, someone's in Japan. Erin, moderator, in here as always. Boom, Chika. Good to have you in here. Boom, Chika, also. Yes, Boom chaka chaka, boom, chika, all of that stuff. Good to have you in here. May you survive until next Sunday. Yes. Well, may I survive. Actually, if you could amend that wish, I appreciate the wish. If I may survive until next Monday, let's extend it by one day. It's not too Sunday that I'm worried about. This is like all I've got to do this week is just eat lots of carbs. This is like the best week of the whole trading program. It's actually the Monday that I want to survive through to, but there we go. Lysander 45, 6 minutes late, obligatory 40 minutes of random asides and responding to chat, 14 minutes for a dozen articles. Perfect Tokyo Tonight ratio. You see, you're right. It's like this is like probably a Greek philosopher already came up with this formula a long time ago. So yeah. Please give a like to the video if you want me to survive the marathon. Now there's some pressure. What if people don't like the video? Yeah, also I was thinking, do I take the old selfie stick of power on the run? There is like a 30 centimeter limit, although this could of course extend, but I've decided, partly my mum telling me that I was an idiot for considering it, yeah, probably not a smart idea. On a shorter run, I happily, I'll have my iPhone with me. I'll be listening to my own automated 165 BPM DJ beats through the entire run. So I can take out the phone and I'll probably shoot a couple of video clips to post into something about the day. But so I will try to capture some video, certainly some photos. So check out my Instagram and all that. But yeah, I'm not going to go full Joseph Tame with body, camera, rig, and redundant batteries and stuff. I'm probably just going to take a couple of quick clips. But yes, do like the vid for whatever reason gets you going. Pada still around, Cobra Stanchi, or it came back a while ago. You know what? I think it's like drum and bass. It never died, except drum and bass is cool. It is kind of fun though, but there we go. Just don't do the Elon Musk salute accidentally during the marathon. Well, I mean, remember the Elon Musk, he was, what was it? I love you was something like that. Yeah. There's good life advice right there. Yeah. Elon's salary would be good to have, but not his salute. Mikey goes, X, good day, good to see you. German elections will be the same as always. One of two major parties will win, but not enough to rule on their own. Coalition, same as New Zealand, same as Japan. Although, yeah, of course, everybody looking at AFD at the moment. Not that I know anything much about it, other than Elon likes AFD for reasons I can't really understand, although it seems to be consistent. So, yeah, anyway, great to see you all. Freezing cold in Tokyo at the moment. I was hoping like by March it would start beginning. We're now at the time of year where it's so cold that you're like, screw it, I want it to be summer again. Even knowing that when it's summer, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I don't, summer is terrible. But yeah, at the moment I'm ready for it to get warmer at the moment. It's, yeah. And also remembering that Tokyo is, although it's cold, it doesn't snow or anything here. It's always sunny. So that's always nice in winter. It is a great time of year to come to Japan right now. And particularly the next couple of weeks, we're going to have cherry blossoms out probably three or 4 weeks. So yeah, it's a great time of year to come to Japan, of course. More people rocking into the chat here. We've got, hi chat, says Edo. Chat says, hi back. Good to have you in here. Man from Denmark in here as usual. Why not get a harness for the 360 camera? I've got a GoPro harness, but yeah, I'm good. Maybe for another day. The marathon I want to do properly. At least, if I ever do a second marathon, I might get into harnesses and that sort of stuff. I will take a couple of selfies and stuff, but yeah. Summer is great. Best week of the year in Denmark. I think I heard a similar joke about Ireland, saying something similar to that. When is summer in Ireland? It's from June 23rd to June 28th or something like that. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, thank you for your entire globe consideration there. That's very diversity and equity inclusive of you, Erin. Not fashionable, but yes, it's nice to not be forgotten every now and again. Let's dive into the topics that we have. Like I say, I've not been busy on the, I was just going through the topics before, and it doesn't look like, to me, there's a lot going on, which is why you send me on the rabbit chases. Yeah, someone in a same-sex marriage loses a bid for long-term residency. Now, the situation here, I believe, is that somebody who was in a same-sex marriage was it permanent residence or spouse visa? Does not have equivalent. What sort of visa were they going for, actually? Designated activities visa, obtain the visa. So it looks like it was essentially kind of a spouse visa. Okay. Still sort. Oh no, so they got a visa. It's just they went for more of a long-term visa, which I'm guessing is PR. So in Japan, I think last I heard, normally it takes 10 years to apply for permanent residency. Although now this introduced a point system where I've seen if you've got enough points just on your own, even within 3 years residence, you can become a permanent resident. But this person, but normally, like 0 points, you have to wait for 10 years. If you're married, you can apply in 5 years. So I believe this person was probably applying for permanent residency as someone who's married, and was told that no, the marriage criteria for getting the longer status visa, you have to be married, man and woman, apparently under the immigration law, which, again, some countries are going back to this at the moment, but it does seem a bit silly, especially when most Japanese municipalities now recognize same-sex marriage, and it's really a marriage spousal visa. The fact that you would not recognize that seems really just dumb at this point. Flip it around, of course, just wait a couple more years and do the application. You'll probably be fine, and you can get a visa in the meantime anyway. But the fact that they're designated activities visa. Aaron, behave. I know what you're thinking. What sort of activities? I don't think you get a visa for marital activities specifically. And hell, I mean, it looks like the law doesn't recognize that. I guess that they get an easy work visa, but not a long-term visa anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. Designated activities, I guess, whatever same-sex couples do, that's what they're getting. But anyway, into the next topic. Boom. Oh yeah, now this was fun. This was apparently there's a survey 2020, so this is like 5 years old now, on which prefecture do you like the most. And I learned some things during this, actually. Let's can we zoom in on this? We can't, but okay. So you would think most countries, certainly New Zealand, if you did this for New Zealand, it would be very simple. It would be everybody hates Auckland and Auckland hates Australia. I mean, that would probably be the map. Japan, however, it's interesting. There's a bit of a patchwork. All the blue places hate Tokyo, and all the red places hate Osaka. And Fukushima hates Yamaguchi over here. I mean, when they say hate, when I say hate, I mean basically they dislike the most. Chiba dislikes Kyoto the most. And there are some great places that either hate everybody equally or just attack the person doing the survey. Also, one other funny thing. This little island of orange. What's this little circle of orange here? This is Hiroshima, who hates Tokyo just like everybody else, but is not aware that all their neighbors, instead of hating Tokyo, actually hate Hiroshima. So I kind of joked about what's going on here. Like, Hiroshima, hey guys, we all hate Tokyo, right? Everyone's like, right, we hate Tokyo. But I was asking, what's up with Fukushima hating Yamaguchi? And apparently, I got a bit of a history lecture in the responses to this. In fact, it might have been over on Twitter. Oh yeah, not a political reason except Okayama, but they don't like people bad. Someone else there. There's something about the Mori clan that if you look up history, they were on the losing side of the Sekigahara War and were exiled by Tokugawa. But 260 years later, they did a deal with the UK to defeat the Tokugawa, created Japan as a nation state, imitating the European system. So Fukushima was on the side of the Tokugawa. During the Boshin War, they massacred the Mori clan with modern weapons. So basically, the Fukushima people, this is all going back to wars 250 years ago. They're not over it. And that is why These two, although Yamaguchi doesn't seem to hate Fukushima. I mean, they hate Hiroshima just like everybody else around them. Which again, I mean, what did Hiroshima do? But the other dynamic that is really interesting is just how everybody doesn't like Osaka and Tohoku. It's not like they're anti-Tokyo. And there are some interesting dynamics with this as well. The culture, there is a bit of a dividing line between Tohoku and West Japan and East Japan. East Japan is very stoic, very sort of Scandinavian, Scottish. And Osaka is like the antithesis of that. They're comedians, they're outgoing, they're fun, they're in your face, they're very direct in Osaka. And there was a thing I remember after the earthquake and tsunami, that of course wasn't just the Fukushima nuclear accident, it was also Iwate and Miyagi reconstruction. Lots of volunteers from Kobe, Hyogo, and Osaka and so on all went up to Tohoku to go help. And apparently there was a lot of like cultural friction because, Osakans who are kind of gregarious and kind of direct when they complain about things did not go very well in the sort of stoic, quiet, kind of, and honestly a little bit scary Tohoku areas. And apparently, there were problems where people just didn't like the volunteers up from Osaka, and the Osakan people were sort of like, geez, what happened to these people? So I thought that was an interesting dynamic, and it's always been the case, actually, even before modern times, that, if you're up in Yamagata and, you can't afford to feed yourself and, you got 20 kids and not enough food or whatever, you would go and sell your kids off into apprenticeships, mainly in Tokyo. Niigata was another place that this happened. And when I say apprenticeship, I mean some of the equivalents of the sumo stables, for example, wiping your boss's bum and doing all of that. And of course, prostitution. They all supplied these sort of cities. So I don't know. There was always like Tokyo was where people went to get away from things, but also all the people who sort of didn't like rule from Kyoto, as you can tell from this map historically. Every time there was a rebellion, it was always these areas, even though they had far less people. But kind of interesting to see how everyone in Kyushu, more or less, is just uniformly West and Central Japan just doesn't like big old Tokyo. But still very, very interesting there. So that is who doesn't like who in Japan. I know that there's no Okinawa on the map. There's no there's no Russian occupied territories, and there certainly are no Korean islands, Korean occupied islands or anything like that. But that aside, interesting history lesson. This is what I love about when social media is working. I occasionally, the idea nowadays that you can learn anything from social media, social media is where you go to become less smart most of the time. But, if you have high quality followers like yourselves, you can actually learn things occasionally. And I try to use it in that way. And this is a thing where I was happy to have all these responses. Yeah. Where can you live if you hate everyone? I think, Gunma is your place right there. Gunma is equal opportunity hater. Tottori, Oita. I'm presuming gray means either they hate nobody or everybody, but honestly, if I lived in Gunma, I'm pretty sure the answer would be everybody, so I'm going with that. Brad F, nice to see you in the chat there. Did anyone hear the interview of the Australian lady that does the Shinkansen voiceovers? I have it in my to watch list. On that Osakan podcast, right? Which he's got some great, he's got some great interviews on there. Actually, it's a great channel. If I can remember what it's called, maybe I can dig it up here because it's coming up and I can show you. I know exactly the one that you're talking about. I rank these in order of length, duration, so that I can watch the short ones first. By the way, my recent watch list, Extra History, The Unholy Emperor Frederick II of Sicily. I was like, awesome. Seriously, you should watch all these sorts of channels. Air Japan, a new budget airline that I've never heard of, flies between only Hong Kong, Korea, and Thailand at the moment, and Japan, goes into Narita. But Josh Cahill, who is not a soft touch when it comes to reviewing airlines, said it was really, really good. This one, Unpacking Japan, interviewing the most recognizable voice in Japan, the lady who does all the train announcements. This is the one that Brad F is talking about, and I've heard interviews with her before actually. And yeah, it's a bit weird. It's literally like the train announcement starts having a conversation with you, but she is very, very cool. And is that the link that you did, Aaron? Probably is this one, right? But yeah, she is very, very cool. Donna Burke, she has her own channel, a video from 4 years ago. I'm the voice of the Tokaido Shinkansen. And there you go. Unpacking Japan. Wow. Yeah, the Yakuma too. I like Guma. Guma's got Oizumi, which is the big Brazilian town. And I like Brazil, and I love the food. I had a good time there. But yeah, it is from Unpacking Japan. As usual, Aaron is like 12 steps ahead of me on all things here. But yes, back into the very few topics that we have. Japan, when you talk about the DeepSeek AI like innovation that caused the American stock market to crash when these Chinese like quants went and developed a new type of efficient AI algorithm. There's a company doing the same thing in Japan. They're called Sakana AI, and their story is super cool. That they're basically again, rather than trying to compete against Anthropic and OpenAI by the same way, by just using the same techniques and throwing more power at them, which just takes more money, they're trying to be smarter about it. They're looking for ways to clever ways to make AI models more intelligent, and being quite successful at it. And it's kind of funny. It's set up. It's a Japanese startup, but it's actually staffed mostly by expats from people from companies like Google, who just decided they were all living in Japan, decided to split off and make this company, and they're doing really, really well. So it's kind of a foreign resident expat AI company based in Japan that's globally like doing really, really well. So it's a really cool company actually. But yeah, traumatized now. Traumatized by, oh, she does the earthquake on our phones. Well, that's not good. Well, I mean, it is good, I suppose. Thank you. Imagine living near her and she said it in real time. Or she wanted to prank people. That would be disturbing. Bad taste joke by me. Disney is getting rid of diversity, saying that let's have more, instead of diversity, fun is the most important thing. To which I respond, zippity doodah. Which was the theme of the Walt Disney show, but also, of course, the feature Song of the South, which even people in the 1960s were like, oh my God, please, Walt, stop. I mean, the movie won awards, and the Black American stars were not even allowed to like attend screenings in southern states because they would offend white people in attendance. With Walt Disney saying how post-slavery, how everyone was so happy in the South. So that's what Disney's going back to, which I suppose is on brand. I mean, hell, it's a nice song. I grew up singing it at school. But yeah, Disney, there we go. Disney is afraid of DJ. I don't even know what DJT is, but yes, they're afraid of everything. Toyota, again, not really a big topic, but Toyota's for a long time, the Japanese government's been saying, hydrogen, the next big thing is hydrogen. But Japan doesn't have any hydrogen, and they've made some cars that run on hydrogen that seem pretty cool, but it just doesn't really make economic sense, against electric vehicles. And by the way, hydrogen is interesting because you can both use it as like fuel for batteries. So you can actually have a battery powered car, but instead of recharging, you can fill up a hydrogen tank and use the hydrogen as a battery electrolyte, and basically you electrolyze it and water comes out the tailpipe. Or you can set it on fire and just use it like a regular combustion engine. And again, just emits water. It just burns and combines with air to make H2O. And so, and plus you can make hydrogen from petroleum fuels that basically from fossil fuels that Japan already imports. So Japan's kind of, the government's really promoting, hey, everybody, let's go for hydrogen instead of straight electricity. But it doesn't make sense. The fuel tanks are very hard to get to the right scale for the car, and hydrogen fuel is still expensive, but it does make sense for industrial applications. So Toyota's kind of pivoting away from hydrogen cars to industrial stuff, which a lot of people outside of Japan have been saying, why are you putting all this effort into hydrogen and why aren't you making more electric cars? And this is kind of maybe Toyota admitting that. Electric cars, of course, they're going through an interesting time because basically, as someone who likes the Volkswagen Beetle, even though it was designed, I don't think it was actually designed by Hitler. It was designed by Hitler's best friend, Ferdinand Porsche. But Hitler, loved it so much, he said, make this my car. And, they sold it. God, there it goes. They sold the car. Dr. Strangelove. They sold the car as a the brand, the people's car as designated, which is exactly what Elon tried to do with Teslas. And now I still remember going to Seattle and every car was a Tesla, and then I went back and there were none left. There were no Teslas anymore. So EV's going down mainly on Elon. And I don't know how a Nazi who hates liberals ever thought it was a good idea to go for a green car. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he'll do those coal powered, SUV monster trucks. Maybe that's what Tesla's going for next, because the people who support him ideologically are not buying his cars, and the people who, neither the people who want EVs are buying his cars, nor are the people who support his political beliefs. So anyway, Toyota, get your stuff together. If you're not going to make hydrogen, make decent electric cars. Electric cars are fun to drive, and I'll drive some more. But yeah, we've got all of that. I had a moment this week. That's right. When Trump, I hate to talk about America, but there we go. Dr. Strange reference. Thank you, Tadam. I'm glad that somebody got that. Somebody who enjoys 1960s cinema. Was that the 60s or 70s? It was a long time ago anyway. Kubrick. Great movie, by the way. Not a Nazi, he's an egoist. Well, yeah, I don't think you can actually, officially sign up to be a Nazi anymore, but he's got issues that I can't help him with. Speaking of which, I try not to talk about Trump or America on this at any time, but, talking about how, going on to Truth Social and saying that Zelensky's a dictator, and, Russia lost a lot of people, so they should deserve to keep some of the land that they took. Zelensky's a dictator because because Ukraine was supposed to have elections after, 5-year terms, but they can't have them right now because they're being freaking invaded by Russia, and Russia's saying that you're not legitimate anymore. And this is something that Putin threw out in a car interview. This is literally a Kremlin talking point. I mean, there has to be. Russia must have that infamous, prostitutes urinating on him tape. That must be a real thing, because I can't understand why the US president is just straight up quoting Russian propaganda to America. It's I'm trying to look away. I'm trying to say to everybody, hey, Trump's just the golden retriever that you stupid American voters put in charge of driving the bus. Don't get angry at don't get angry at the idiot who's just acting predictably. Get angry at the country. That's what I've been saying. But that's kind of literally quoting Russian internet troll talking points. I gotta say, bad golden retriever. In fact, I like golden retrievers, so I'm not even gonna call you that. I'm gonna call you one of those skinny, hairless dogs that has the legs that look like chopsticks that make me just shiver every time I see them. You're an ugly, skinny, bald, bad dog. Whatever that thing is. Whippet. You're a whippet. You're a bad whippet. And also, Americans, please, I understand that you didn't like Biden, and we're just getting it out of your system. And still, I will say, still not the dumbest democratic thing anyone's ever done. I mean, Brexit still happened, but pretty pushing second really hard right now, and really disappointing to see how America is literally throwing a huge country in Europe to Russia, and wanting to buddy up with a gang of assholes is how it looks. Chihuahua, that's a pretty good one too. Chihuahuas are kind of okay. The Japanese Chihuahuas don't bark, which is a bit sad because, they actually make it so that they can't bark, but they are cuter as a result. So, yeah. Well, wait a minute. So Eric Bailey, I don't want to get too much into this, but he threw members of the Russian Orthodox clergy that were refusing to hold like funerals for Ukrainian military because they supported the Russian invasion. So not quite that simple. His shutting down of the Russian Orthodox Church is hand in hand with the Russian government and was actually like being seditious in a time of being invaded. So he was right to do that, and they didn't, they set up a different church. We can go into the details and look. If you want to believe Russian propaganda about, the country being invaded by Russia, that's your choice, but it is pretty offensive to me. So yeah, I'm not saying that Zelensky's perfect, but the Russian Orthodox Church, was doing some really shitty stuff, and no, they deserve to have that stuff taken out. And that said, all the comments, of course, about how seeing how they're throwing Ukraine under the bus. Europeans being outraged, I'm kind of with America on that. I'll say in America's thing, America's been saying for years that Europe's been lazy and just expecting that America will carry the burden of defense and thinking that defense spending wasn't really necessary anymore. And now, Europe collectively cannot even supply enough shells to like match what North Korea gives to Russia on the front lines, let alone prepare its own sort of defense. So, Europe suddenly realized like to actually get their defense up to scratch, they're like 15 years, it's a 15-year project now, and then most of them don't have the budgets for it and can't afford it. So, they, at the same time, on the one hand, while Europe's now alarmed that they're being left out of peace talks and so on, at the same time, I kind of am sympathetic to America saying for a long time that, if you're not going to pull your weight, you're not going to be taken seriously. And kind of Europe chose to not be taken seriously. And, now they're realizing the crisis that they're in, and that's a good thing. But saying that it's, at the same time, Europe's got its own stuff to get together on this. But people in Japan realizing that, if this is happening to Ukraine, this could happen to Japan as well. Like, Japan is pretty much, and it's different to Europe. Japan is not just abdicated or outsourced its defense. Japan still has the number 4 spending on defense of any country in the world, even though it's prohibited by the constitution written for it by America that was made almost unamendable, that it's not allowed to spend to actually have an offensive military. It only can have a defensive military. But at the same time, the idea that if China tries something on, which it's going to be very encouraged to do by all of these actions, if Russia gets a green light on the territories it occupies in Ukraine, then why wouldn't China invade and kill millions of people in Taiwan, right? I mean, and why wouldn't it also just pick up the Senkaku Islands on the way? So, and, as much as America affirms that the Senkaku Islands are under the defense treaty, I don't think anyone's quite feeling at the moment like America is going to actually keep up their end of the treaty. And hell, I mean, America doesn't want to get into overseas wars. So, that's one thing, but this is probably positive that it's waking people up to actually be responsible for their own defense. But at the same time, it's a little bit sad. I don't think America has to be the world's police officer, but the world's better for it being that. But yeah, no, they are not both very bad guys. We should have nothing to do with either of them. Ukraine is a rape victim. As a country, it is being raped by Russia, and we're basically trying to lecture them on how they should go about being raped by Russia at the moment. The idea that there's inequality in the thing, Russia is invading Ukraine. I mean, yes, Ukraine does have a little bit of Kursk, but I think of the circumstances, we're trying to hand them mace or whatever. It's absolutely not an equivalent. It's not a fight. It's not a mutual war. It's a one-way invasion by Russia, and we should be supporting Ukraine unequivocally, 100%. But yeah, that's my opinion. And look, well, Eric, you're speaking on behalf of America that voted as a majority for a president that doesn't agree with what I'm saying and is doing exactly what you voted for. So you're getting what you voted for. And I agree. It's not just Trump doing this. America wanted this. I think America, you're all being sucked in by Russian propaganda, and it's terrifying. But you are speaking on behalf of what America voted for. So, it's sad, but you are speaking for the majority and I'm not. I acknowledge that, but I still think you're wrong. And we can disagree, but I won't talk about this. Auto tariffs, trying to stop foreign cars getting into America, which let's make Detroit Havana again. I don't think Detroit's coming back. I don't think that Flint Mission is coming back even with tariffs, but he's always made a big deal about cars. So it is funny how Japan has gotten away with not being targeted so far, by the way. Ishiba did the perfect thing of, I think I've said this before, of going and meeting Trump and somehow not being noticed by him at the same time. He had that perfect Japanese balance. Nobody thought he would be able to pull that off. So, Atomic Tom, it absolutely isn't a dictatorship. I mean, Truman, there weren't elections during World War II when Truman was president. There weren't, Winston Churchill, the elections were postponed due to martial law when Britain was being attacked by the Nazis. And no one said that Truman was a dictator or Churchill was a dictator, and Zelensky's in the same situation. It's ridiculous. But all that stuff. Anyway. Well, the dead people speak Russian because they were killed by the Russians. Zelensky is a Russian speaker. The YouTube channels I follow on the war are from Russian speakers from Crimea who opposed the invasion. So yeah, Russia's done a great job of killing lots of Russian speakers, claiming to be liberating it. So yeah, all of that. The language isn't definitive on anything, and it doesn't make it Russian. But anyway, Japan is going to, if you've got nut allergies, Japan is a terrible country to have allergies or to be religious in any way. If you've got any dietary requirements to avoid pork or to avoid like certain sorts of nuts or anything like that, and you just ask, hey, does this salad have any peanuts in it? Or any, they'll say, oh, no, probably not. But if you say, I'm allergic to it and I could eat, and I could die if I have this, they'll go into a panic out into the kitchen, and they'll take 20 minutes trying to find out. And half the time they'll come back and they say, we're not sure, you're probably okay, but we don't know. Japanese don't know what's in food in a lot of places. And apparently where peanuts are often labeled, cashew nuts are not often labeled. So Japan is going to finally start labeling if cashew nuts are in products. So that is a thing. Thoughts on the Sugalid drive up the coast or by the time of Nissan? Thoughts on the Sugalid drive up the coast or by time of... I'm sorry, I don't understand, Dan H., what you're trying to say there. I mean, I know that Suga is kind of from the district where Nissan's headquarters are based. I don't know if that's something that he's done with some sort of thing about that, but yeah. But anyway, good that they're labeling cashews, I guess. Apparently, in Kira names, on names that were popular like 20 years ago, and all these poor kids are now becoming adults, somebody put the reading for Taro, like the most common firstborn male name in Japan, Taro, listed the reading as Michael. This was recently blocked, apparently, in a family registration. Somebody tried to register Taro with the reading Michael, which I think would be good for people like... Kono Taro. Instead of Kono Taro, I can call him Kono Michael, but apparently the government is now actually policing this and banning that sort of thing. Defense spending, Tokyo Marathon weather forecast is apparently it's going to be warm, which I'm hoping that it is, but you never know. It's been freezing cold the last few days here, so I'm not enjoying that. Tallest building in Tokyo just opened up. It is a little bit dull, but this is the Azabudai Hills by Mori. It's basically right in between Tokyo Tower and Roppongi Hills. It's not really close to a train station and not really convenient to anything, but it's big and it does have a viewing deck on the top where you can actually look down on Tokyo Tower. So I'll probably get round to checking it out at some point. Or at the moment, there isn't really much around there to go look at. It's in a very expensive neighborhood, literally Azabujuban or Azabudai, which is why they call it Azabudai Hills. It's basically behind Roppongi, but that is the new biggest building. I kind of don't like how why don't you just take a photo rather than like a wobbly moving around like video like that? It's kind of making me seasick. But yeah, that is the biggest tower. And look at that. I had nothing to talk about. Plus, I really wanted to move on quickly from the Ukraine stuff because of all of that. But yeah. In any case, I might be wrong about that, Eric Bailey, but I thought there wasn't an election between 1939 and 1945. Was there an election in those years? I thought there was a skipped one. I mean, I know that Roosevelt died and Truman took over, but my understanding was that there wasn't an election between that period. But I could be wrong. In fact, actually, you know what? That's right. America didn't join the war until 1941, did they? So maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway, there's no way I finish early, so that's right. I'm going to hang around here. Sadiq, asks, what do I think about Amazon James Bond takeover? I don't know. I saw the news. I mean, so what's the story? I think MGM has the James Bond license and it's been sitting there sort of going to waste. And now I think like the news story is that Amazon's going to start like reboot the James Bond series. I don't know if it's always I don't know if it's always been produced by British film studios. It's one of those things. Some people are saying, "Oh, this could be like Disney taking over Star Wars," and they could suddenly and there are already discussions that there might be like side character focused like TV. It'll be like a Mandalorian version of James Bond or something where they have all the side characters. I guess you could have the inventor guy. I'd kind of like that. Honestly, I have to say, under like the recent Bonds, I grew up enjoying. Like I grew up when I was a kid. James Bond was Roger Moore, which is almost like comedies. It was almost like over the top sort of ridiculous stuff. The ones with there were a couple. Oh, where's my brain at now? I should be able to list off the names. What year was in the 90s? There was when they sort of reinvigorated the brand. I thought they did really well, and they got some cool Bonds. It definitely does come down a lot often to who they pick as the Bond. I mean, look, at least they're going to have money. And I think hopefully they're not Disney. So hopefully they're not going to do it like Disney. Of course, Amazon made the Lord of the Rings series. I think they just about bankrupted the company making that. And I still haven't watched it. I don't know if they did a good job on it or not. But, they've got money. So hopefully if they can find anyone with a good idea, I'm not like a hardcore James Bond loyalist, but if they're going to make another movie, I want them to do it with a proper budget and make it fun and make it exciting. So we'll see how that goes. I have no particular opinion other than I hope they don't screw it up like everybody else. Pierce Brosnan. I was trying to remember Pierce Brosnan. Wow, you read my mind, Mr. Cordy Chip. When they brought it back with Pierce Brosnan, I was like, oh, this is like cool. GoldenEye. GoldenEye was great. The opening scene of GoldenEye I watched in Spain, and all of these Spanish people like swearing in stunned excitement during the opening action sequence. That was like Mission Impossible before Mission Impossible. Again, I might be wrong with when Mission Impossible was. But, at the same time, who knows? Who knows? I hope they do a good job of it anyway. They've done okay with Reacher. That's right. They've done a few series. So anyway, I hope that they could do it. So yeah, GoldenEye on the N64, that was pretty cool. Void Theft, the import of Argas dropped from 45% to 18%. I don't understand what that is referring to. Disney ruined Star Wars just as Amazon will ruin James Bond, says Shubis. Well, that's what everybody is expecting. I'm hoping, I don't know. How do we think Netflix does it, this sort of thing? Like, it's not like the theory is impossible. The thing is, I can't really talk about a blockbuster movie that Amazon's made. And while I must admit, I tried to watch and enjoy Disney, like I like The Mandalorian, and I did like Andor, for example. So Disney's done some good things, but they've done like too much of everything. So I don't know. I enjoy a lot of things that are on Netflix, for example. So I don't know if you could get a streaming type service. But yeah, at the same time, I think there's a problem with these studios that have too much money, that things end up getting made too much by committee. And then, sometimes it's good to just find a crazy director and roll the dice, and it could be a disaster or it could be really good, but just let one creative person just go and make it out there, sort of go at it. That's always going to be better. If you make a movie by, committee, you're going to end up with the Marvel movies that I just get so bored by lately. That's just me. So hopefully they don't do that, but we'll see. Shubis is enjoying Severance right now. I've been watching Severance while I've been doing my long runs, and I must admit, I've been told to go and watch the making of segments now since I've caught up on it, because I watched this whole thing and it's so dark and weird and kind of like and off-putting, and what the hell is going on here, and this is just so confusing. And then I think Ben Stiller made this, right? There's something about Mary, Ben Stiller, the Zoolander, Ben Stiller made this. So where is Ben Stiller? Like, what the hell? Like, is Ben Stiller like mentally disturbed? Like, what the hell is he even trying to do with this? So, and apparently Ben Stiller does talk about this, and there are clips where you can watch that. This is on Apple TV, right? So I'm going to go and catch those up now. The first couple of episodes of the second season, I was like, okay, I don't even remember the first season anymore, and I'm so confused. But now that I've caught up, okay, I'm now back in the swing of it, and I'm kind of like intrigued by it. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing I've ever seen, but it is intriguing, so I'm continuing to enjoy it. I also actually today just finished watching the second season of Silo, which is kind of the same. It's interesting enough, although it's not. I can't wait for Foundation to come back. Foundation on Apple TV is like one of the best things I've ever seen. I mean, damn, yeah. Apple deserves so much credit for Foundation. I don't think Amazon has anything like that. Netflix maybe can't. Netflix has some great series actually, but yeah, they can do some things well. But yeah, Silo's okay. But Brad F. Shubis, I thought you lost your job. Dan H lives not too far away from Pinewood Studio. That's where they made the original Star Wars, isn't it? And have some friends who constantly work as extras. You'll let me know how if they ruin it. Oh, is that owned by Amazon? Is it? Yeah. Be sure to let me know. I mean, I don't really care. James Bond has always gone through ups and downs, and frankly, Daniel Craig, who I didn't think was a bad choice. And even I don't think the movies were like that bad. They just weren't that great for me, honestly. I think I saw A Quantum of Solace and was just kind of bored by it, which you shouldn't really be during a James Bond movie. I mean, I would probably take you watch the Roger Moore movies now, and like they're so camp and so sort of crazy. But I almost think you could go back and do that again. Invasion, I'm not sure. Was that on Apple or something like that? Skyfall was okay. I think it was. But yeah, maybe it's me getting old. I don't know. Pinewood is a studio here in the UK where they make those movies. Was that where they made Star Wars? Like the original Star Wars? I know that was all shot in UK, wasn't it? But yeah. Black Tingu asking, is there a new James Bond now? I don't know. No, I think they're just talking about how Amazon is going to be making the new series. So we'll find out. I don't think there's any details about it yet. So... Yeah, Void Theft. Casino Royale with Daniel Craig was great, but you understand people don't like it to change too often. Yeah. I also really didn't like the final James Bond movie, how they just tried to make it like so final. I don't know. It's like they're trying to do too much. They're trying to do prequels and postquels, and to me, keep it simple and keep it stupid. It would make me happy. But yeah, so what else is going on at the moment? Like I say, my life has been pretty boring. It's just been pretty much between work and training. But I have been going through trying to get my music playlist in order for the Tokyo Marathon. I'm going to take a particular playlist of all the music that I've bought, and I'm just going to make all the stuff which goes for a right BPM. The pace making software that I use isn't always accurate on the BPMs, which is annoying when I'm running. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to set up to be able to use the DJ software that I use while I'm running. I'm planning to DJ the entire time while I'm running, if that doesn't cause my battery to run out. But yeah, 165 BPM, that's what I'm going to be running at. It'd be really cool if I could figure out, well, even if I could figure out how to live stream the whole thing, video and music and DJing while I'm running the whole time, which is what between my AirPods and what I'm seeing. I'd love to share that with you all. But I think just the battery challenges alone would also be pretty awful for that. So yeah, Ben Duncan, yes, I'll be running next weekend. So by the way, very I like that profile photo. I'm jealous, actually. You've had that for a long time, but seeing it all like big on the screen, that looks really cool. Yes, next weekend I am running that. So hopefully I'll be fine for Sunday night after the run. We'll see how I go. First time running a full marathon, but even in training now, I've run a few 3.5 hour runs where I've made it up to like 38, 39K. So I think I'm going for about, well, probably under 4 hours, going for 3 hours 45. We'll see how we go. And no, I expect it won't be easy, although I am looking forward to all the carb loading this week. I'm just going to make myself as fat as possible, and then I'm just going to run it off and try not to get diarrhea during the race. So yes, give me a like so I survive the marathon. Ask me anything. anything else you wanna ask about for my uninformed take on. Maybe I'll go through videos I've been watching from my, well, actually some of these I've watched, but I clear them out as I go. But is there anything here? Ben Duncan is carb loading even though not running. There are 30 people here. Well, please, that is actually wonderful to hear. Do remember to like, I do appreciate it if you do. AI news, not so interesting. Clinical pharmacologist, not so interesting. Starship news. See, I like Elon's like rockets and stuff. The siege of Belgrade from 1456, just after Constantinople fell to the Ottomans, and how the Hungarians fought back against that. That was kind of cool. The Economist podcast. Lately, they're putting out daily podcasts. And they are, The Economist still is. If you're interested in news at all, it's like global, it's all topics. And it's really well informed and smart. And I really, really I've always loved The Economist. But lately they're putting out daily shows. And they're all quite listenable. So I highly recommend The Economist podcast. Doug DeMuro, who's always doing car reviews. It's funny, I can't believe I've never owned a car my whole time, like since graduating university. And yet I love driving and I love cars. And he's reviewing the latest 911 over here. And yeah, fairly bare bones by the sounds of it, but cool looking car. Sustainable energy. Simon Whistler, UK guy who cannot pronounce a single Japanese word or name or place correctly. But he is a good presenter. He presents like 6 or 7 channels. And I think I subscribe to every channel that he presents on. Demaster, you had to vote, so coming back to rewatch. Well, good on you for voting. Glad that you did that. Sadiq, by the way, yeah, I think I saw Sadiq in here. Great to see you, Sadiq, as always, and everybody else. Shubis, we got a Shubis right on. You Only Live Twice is your favorite James Bond flick, and you enjoy rewatching it. You Only Live Twice, so let me. Now I'm curious as well while I'm sharing this window. Let's put it up here. You Only Live Twice. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. The Connery. Gotcha. Yes, that was a good one. This is the one, yeah, with the old Aston Martin and all that sort of stuff. Classic. That's the archetype of Bond, I think. Is that the one where he came to Japan? Maybe not, but yeah. Atomic Tom also voted. We've got lots of voters in here. Great to see. The Maserati Quattroporte, the 4-door Maserati, actually got quite a good review there, even though Maseratis have a terrible reputation for reliability, but he said that this car's actually quite good. Give me a break, man. I haven't gotten through watching this again, but he's doing a taste comparison of different alcohol levels of Strong Zero. Some Diary of a CEO that I'm enjoying less lately, but I've got these on my watch list to watch. Dwarkesh Patel, I also enjoy. Denis Davidoff, I follow him for daily Ukraine war news updates. Yes. So basically, in fairness to Eric Bailey, I do watch Ukrainian propaganda daily, although, you know, I like the way that Dennis does it, and he's a Crimean, Russian speaking. But just because you speak a language, I mean, geez, you speak English. Do you want to be invaded by England again? You know, Russia's slaughtering Russian speakers. You know, so anyway, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not an expert on the war, but this is how I keep up, and I appreciate his commentary. AI Daily Brief is great if you're into AI news, and the put up news stories every day. Takashi has got some interviews, mostly in Japanese actually, but being half Japanese in Japan. Yeah, Viva La Dirt League. Nesta recommended this to me. They're actually New Zealanders that do pretty cool little sort of skits, mostly about IT and gaming and so on. And all of this stuff. Anything else here? I mean, the history of UK, here we go. Bearing UK, that UK sound, the history of basically rave music and drum and bass, and techno music in the UK. Multi-episode, just an epic series about the history of music in the UK. Highly recommend Bearing UK, checking out that UK sound series, especially if you're into, all of my records, hundreds of records, it's all that I bought in Japan. Japan has better UK vinyl record shops than UK has, but I've got all of that stuff. Yeah, Fortnite news, Switch and Click, a keyboard channel, the best budget keyboards on Amazon. Abroad in Japan, I'll watch it sometime. But yeah, Anton Petrov, I think I've got his shirt that I wear sometimes, but he keeps up with scientific papers. Rugby highlights. So yeah, and I normally watch Japan Expert Insights before the show so that I can give you some sort of political updates and so on before the show, but I didn't have a chance today. Are we going to get a Softy Papa collab? I'm sure that we are. I know that he's back in Japan. I've got to get round to that. So thank you for the reminder of that, Dan H. That's a great idea. But yeah, that's the show for tonight. Anyway, thank you for keeping me company as always. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the patience with my opinions, even if you disagree with them. I don't like to talk about America or topics outside of Japan because I'm just a schmuck, with an opinion on these things. I mean, I believe in my opinions, of course, which is why I share them. But at the same time, I don't want to offend anybody on opinions that, frankly, I don't feel well backed up on, which I do about Japan. But I normally defer on other things. But the situation in Europe is so messed up at the moment, I can't help myself. So yeah, thank you for your patience with that. Thank you for keeping me company. As always, remember you can follow me Instagram, Twitter. Blue Sky is actually now my main jam outside of all of this and all the things. And after this, let's go to the after party, which I've set up. You get to pick the tracks. And going to give me a couple of minutes because the mixer is still behind me. So I've got to go set all of that up. But yeah, we're doing that next. So come join me for the after party. And otherwise, have a great week. And see you back here next week where I'll tell you how the run went. So have a good week, everybody. Boom. Peace. Question actually from Eric Bailey. Do I know anywhere that you can drop some sode no shita and get a Japanese driver's license? You let your American license expire, so this process is freaking tedious. I don't know what you mean by sode no shita, but I know that depending on the district in Japan, driver's license process by nationality is different. Although the thing is, if you've let your US license expire, it's always easier to kakikai, to change it. And I think if you're in Kanagawa or places with a big base, maybe like Hiroshima or Nagasaki, for example, I don't know where you're based. I think you can just convert your driver's license really easily. But if you want to actually, are you talking about getting just a straight up, like with the test without a conversion? You definitely want to convert your license. So I would go and somehow get your US license back. For that, you don't want to rely on the international permit, or anything like that. It is good for ID and all sorts of purposes to get a Japanese license, but yeah. But anyway, best of luck. I don't have a tip with that other than get your US license and pick an area that's friendly for converting. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Have a good week, everybody, and boom, peace.